All right, so this go around, we'll be looking at the Great British Pub Culture Explained. Now, here in the U.S., we've got bars, and here in the area where I'm at, I don't know how it is in some other places. We've got like common house type things popping up, and like taverns and stuff. And we've got some like English style pubs and like gastro pubs that have popped up around here too. But it's more of these common house type things. And what it is they take and brew beer there. They serve beer, but they also brew beer, and it's very much a communal atmosphere and things like that. So they might have some live music one night, but a lot of times you can take your family there. A lot of times you can't. You're not gonna want to take your kids into a bar just because some of the craziness you might see and some of the situations that might arise. Bars a lot of times are people that are playing pool, shooting pool, playing some darts, maybe watching if there's football on the TV, and you know during the daytime it's a place a lot of old timers will take and go to relax and stuff like that. But at nighttime, things get stupid. So these common houses that take and brew beer and stuff like that, brew their own beer on site and things like that have popped up. So the fact that we're looking at the Great British Pub Culture Explained, I'm actually going to have a beer, Ruby, and this is a barley wine style ale, aged in Madeira barrels, 12.5% ABV. Edmonds Oast Brewing Company. This is a company that's local to me. I actually took and went to the brewery this past week, and it's going to be a monthly stop for me from now on because it's so laid back. The atmosphere is so laid back. You can sit, you can get a flight of beers, and you can take and try different offerings they have. You can sit and eat, and most of what they have is the stuff they brew, and they've got a large selection. So, in honor of looking at y'all's pub culture, we're gonna have a beer, and if you want to see the review for this beer, you can go to EB's Watering Hole. Um, so yeah, that being said, let's get to it, shall we?
About England is pubs.
My whole love of journalism and debating came from just observing people in the pub.
The Great British Pub has been the backdrop for debate, conflict, and even love. A place open for all, from geezers to hipsters to ladies' nights out.
We all mix together as one, and that's how it should be.
It is the backbone of British culture.
Go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint, and wait for all this to blow over.
So today,
And see, I love that movie. And see, the funny thing is here, like some of the bars, like a lot of the bars, you're not going to want to take your kids into it. Like you got some. There's one in Georgia that I used to go to with my dad, and it was before it changed ownership, and the atmosphere of the place completely changed because I'm 16, 17 years old, or 15, 16 years old the first time I went in there. But I'd go in there with him at lunchtime, and they served some food, their hamburger steak with fries and gravy poured over all of it. Still one of the best lunches I've ever had. I don't know what they did with that gravy, but my God. And it was a brown gravy, but it was so good. Oh my God. But I'd go there and I'd play pool. Like he could take me there at nighttime, and they could have pool tournaments going, but they'd have dart tournaments going and stuff like that. And I could join if I wanted to, even if I was underage. Couldn't do any drinking or anything like that until I turned 21. But once when I was 21, I was living with my dad, because I just gotten out of 22. I just gotten out of the military and stuff like that, and marriage went south and stuff of that nature. But that's another story. But it's 18. I took him, 15, 16. He took me to that bar. 18, 19. After I graduated high school, because I'd never had the opportunity to live with him before. Moved in with him, and we went to that place, and I absolutely loved it because the atmosphere was always laid back. You take and go there. You went there around noon to about 3 o'clock. You had old timers that were in there. They were just kind of nursing a beer or two, take and play around a pool. Don't ever try to play none of them fellas because they'd hustle. I would say they hustle, but no, they just let you know straight up you're about to lose some money if you want to take and play some pool, if you want to play for some money. But it was nice, relaxed atmosphere. And even at night times when they had karaoke or if they had college football games going on, it was a great place to go to. And then that changed. But there's not many places I've run across personally where you could take even a 15, 16-year-old kid in to the bar. A lot of places you can't get your teen into the bar. But like I said, we got the common houses now, or the common houses is what they're calling them, and it's very much you can take your younger kids and stuff like that. You're not going to take and get a lot of the ruckus like you do now at most places. You have to here if you're gonna you got to find the places where old timers kind of hang out and frequent until about 9 o'clock at night. Because otherwise, it's going to be one of those rough and tumble places a lot of times.
Today we're going to explore this fascinating culture. We're going to go through its history, its controversies, and whether it's going to survive in the future. This is the story of the Great British Pub.
The British have a famous
I love
reserve
that.
when it comes to being sociable. And everything about the pub is micro-engineered to break down those social barriers and to enable people to talk to each other.
Pub is short for public house, with its origins dating as far back as
That's what it is. They're calling them. Well, yeah, and that's what there's. And two of them are called common houses, and there's two other places around here. One in Park Circle, and then one out towards, actually in Mount Pleasant, just before you hit the bridge going over to Charleston. Public houses is what they're calling. So that's just pubs basically, but two of them are called common houses basically. They're called common houses, and that's so okay. So we're trying to take and get a pub culture here, and I might take and go to one of those, to be honest with you, because the only pubs I've been to is English style pubs here, and which those were really nice. But
43 AD to 410 AD, and it came from the Romans as they occupied Britain.
And to enable people to talk to each other.
Pub is short for public house, with its origins dating as far back as 43 AD to 410 AD, and it came from the Romans as they occupied Britain. However, pubs as we know them today would really become popular in the Victorian era. They were communal meeting points that typically the working class could go to and enjoy themselves. Pubs fall into a few different categories, and they have changed a lot over the years, but let's start with three basic ones. Firstly,
and just real quick, why does he look like Mac Miller almost? And rip to Mac Miller, because I remember MySpace days, and his account sent friend requests to everybody, and I remember checking out his music, like, who is this cat? But he just reminds me of Mac Miller, the rapper that passed away a couple years ago.
A lot over the years, but let's start with three basic ones. Firstly, you have the traditional pub. These are often housed in like historic British buildings. Typically, there'll be laws and regulations over how you can change the building's exterior as a way to preserve the culture. So this means there's very low ceilings and very low doorways, because apparently people were smaller back then. A lot of the interior is made out of wood. There's wooden beams everywhere. There's usually an open fireplace.
Looks beautiful.
Designed to feel like a nice, homely, cozy living room. When it comes to drinks, they'll serve a range of beers, ales, ciders, and they might even offer traditional pub food, which we would call pub grub. Now let's move on to the next pub, and that is the country pub.
And every country village needs a country pub.
Now, as the name suggests, a country pub is far out in the sticks, way away from what they would refer to as city folk. Why this is different?
I was about to say, what exactly qualifies as country pubs? Because we used to have, about what you could get, as closest you could take and come to for a bar around here, right? We used to have one right up the road. They took and served beer. They had pool tables. You could bring beer into it as well if you wanted to, but it's all farmland, and the only store we had there for the longest time was the gas station. So it was 15 minutes to the next town, and 15 minutes either way. Well, 15 minutes on the main drag there to either town, or you had to take a side road about 10 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes to the other country town that only had 2 gas stations and 1 restaurant. So, and they actually had 2 bars there, but yeah. So what exactly counts as the sticks for y'all? That's my question. Maybe if you want to tell me in the comments what exactly counts for the sticks where you're at. Because we finally, last couple of years, got a Dollar General, so we high class living around here.
From a traditional pub is that traditional pubs can exist in very urban areas. The atmosphere of a traditional pub relies on its surrounding area. It might be a bit more fun, a bit more lively, and there might be, God forbid, young people in there. Whereas the country pub is quite the opposite. The country pub is more quiet, more cozy, more chill. It caters to the locals who will look at outsiders with a little bit of scorn. The locals have typically lived in that town for generations and generations.
And then we got their children's children and their grandchildren. And they still recognise and still know you. So good night, Miss Pate. Good night, Sam. Good night, John. Good night, Teddy.
And then lastly, we can throw in brewery taps. A brewery tap is a pub that's attached to a brewery. They brew a beer on site and they sell it there. And these pubs tend to look a bit more industrial and are more used as a marketing tool for that beer. But for now, let's get a feel of what it's...
Why does it keep doing that? I'm not trying to take and speed it up at all. So that's what these common houses and the public houses that we've got that have popped up around here in the last 3 to 4 years, that's what they are. They'd be and what did they call them? Brewery taps, because all of them brew their own beer, whether it be the one out in Mount Pleasant, or to be the one out in Park Circle, or the one out in North Charleston, or out in Charleston itself. All of them, they've got breweries within them. They actually, the whole concept of everything was based around the actual beers that they're brewing. It's a big part of what they serve. We've got other places like the Rusty Bull, which again, they've taken their own stuff. Edmund's Oast, they've got it's their own brewery, and it's such a chill atmosphere. Then you got Westbrook. Westbrook is one of the, outside of Edmund's Oast, like Westbrook is top notch in this area, and I think nationally here in the U.S. it's just hard to find a bad beer that they've made. Granted, they've got some that I don't care for, but the way they did the style of beer, just absolutely amazing. But same thing, right? You can sit there, you can chill, you can have drinks, you can eat, they've got events and stuff like that. And we've got a couple of places like that have Low Country Brewing and quite a few different places around here outside of the public and common houses that have kind of popped up that are breweries, and they've got the bar or pub where you can get food and you can sit and hang out and talk and stuff like that. So that's one of the things I got to say around here, and without even realizing it, we're starting to take and get a scene like that here. Although we don't call them pubs. It's just what y'all would probably traditionally call pubs.
A bit more industrial and are more used as a marketing tool for that beer. But for now, let's get a feel of what it's like to step foot into a traditional pub. Before we go any further with this video, I want to give a massive shout out to HelloFresh for sponsoring. HelloFresh is a recipe box that they send in the video. Well, here we go. Alright, so picture this. It's a Wednesday, you finish work, it was a bit stressful, and so what do? You of course venture down to the pub. Which pub will it be today? Will it be the famous Cock, the Red Lion, the Horse's Mouth? And so you approach the front door of the pub and you push open the door to be greeted by another door for some reason. There's always these two doors. Instantly you hear Mickey and the boys sat in their usual spot, shouting about some political thing that they read in the Sun. Listen here boys, you know what I'd do if I was in charge, if I was Prime Minister? Yeah, what's that there, Mickey? I'd get the whole lot of them, take them outside and I'd shoot them. Yeah, that's about right, Mickey. In the corner of Mickey's eye, he sees you as you walk in. The whole table's attention turns. Here comes trouble. You exchange niceties for a couple of seconds and then Mickey, he'll escort you to the bar to go get a drink. These particular gentlemen are who you would refer to as the geezers.
Yeah, you trying to wind me up? I ain't trying to wind anyone up. I'm fucking serious.
These are working class lads. They could be anywhere from the age of like 25 to 55 really. Might be a plumber, a sparky, a carpet fitter, you know, proper man's jobs. They're not going to be in the HR department working in diversity and inclusion. Now what's very interesting about the geezer is that the geezer exists within all British men. No matter how middle class you are, whether you shop at M&S or Waitrose, the infectious charisma and energy of the geezer will undoubtedly rub off on you at some point in the night.
Who's that? Well, this is... what's your name?
Steve.
Steve. He'll be joining us. Why?
Usually around sort of...
Okay, so those would be the ones I'd be trying to take and learn who they are, and because a lot of times when shit goes down, that's the ones you want to be close to.
Beer 6, maybe 7. You'll leave your table, you head to the toilet, you might wobble there because you're getting a little bit intoxicated. And as you go for a piss, the door will bang wide open. Mickey walks right in, stands next to you, and he turns to you and he says, "You watched the game last night, mate?" To which you'll panic because last night you're at yoga and you need to now come up with a cover story. And so you will reply, "Nah, not me, mate. Mrs. was having none of it. You know how it is, mate." But this brings us on to our next pub goer, middle class Michael.
What a nice pub. Yes, it's a lovely pub.
Now, middle-class Michael, he probably works in IT or marketing or something like that, an office job. He's come from work, so he's wearing his nice smart shirt, but he's undone a button, he's letting loose. He'll be somewhere in his late 20s to 30s. He probably lives in central London or some kind of city. But Michael, too, is welcome into the pub. In fact, all of his friends are welcome to come in and speak at an appropriate volume. Until about his 5th Copperberg, where he starts to find this feeling, this foreign feeling, which is called self-confidence, and he'll start speaking louder and louder.
Oh, that liquid courage. That liquid courage.
Next up, you have the old boys, aka the locals. These are men from the age of 60 to about really any day prior to their death. They're drinking.
And those are the ones you're probably going to get some of the best stories you've ever heard in your life, if I had to venture a guess, because the old farts that are in these bars, they've got war stories, they've got local stories, and they've got life stories that just, you soak in those stories, and there's so much that can be learned.
Drinking proper drinks, you know, they're drinking stout, Guinness. They all, of course, dress like farmers. They love Jeremy Clarkson. They hate young people. These are the main demographic of any good country pub.
And we're here in Killarney because we've been invited by a very special character. I hear he's a local legend. Sam, how are you? Good, my dear.
But then you get a few little special guests, such as tourists, who are typically American. They're wearing some bright t-shirt, they've got a bum bag to keep all their things in. And they're saying something about how authentic this place is. It's so quaint, it's so British. And then you get families. Oh, I forgot to say you have...
Why would you take and go to another country but like it's authentic? Well, you're in that country, it's going to be authentic, jackass.
The alcoholic who sat in a corner, murmuring to himself. Pretty sad sight. But then finally you have one other group that will sometimes show their face in a pub, and that is women.
It's so much fun.
Now what's interesting...
Lord have mercy, I've been out at the bars so many different times. Oh man, I'm just now seeing, all right, well, I'll fix that in production, but post-production, but I've been out and about so many different times and seen like the bridal parties coming and stuff like that, and you get the craziness, all kinds of craziness. I remember being at one time at a bridal party come in, and one of the things they had to cross off the list is body shots. So that was interesting. Doing shots out of a woman's belly button. So yeah, there's all kind of wildness that can happen if a group of ladies come in.
About the pub is that pre-World War II, to see a woman in a pub was a very rare sight. It was frowned upon. It was a cultural taboo.
Do you object to me being served alongside you here, sir?
I think for myself that the place for women is the saloon bar or the lounge.
Why?
It was kind of like that so that husbands and wives could be away from each other, so that men could do men things, say naughty words. But nowadays you get what is called a ladies' night. Now this is the one night that ladies have decided they're going to go to the pub. They've spent 3 months over WhatsApp, organising, arguing, falling out over this night. It's a big night for them. It could be a hen do, a birthday, and they will arrive at the pub dressed in their skin-tight dresses, drinking gin and tonic, holding their purse. They're loud, they're passionate, they're dramatic. You'll have one in the corner crying.
Because you get women that take and go to the clubs, or they go to, bars and stuff like that, and they just want to dance, and they could throw their purses all in a pile, and they just go to the dance floor and they just want to dance. Yeah, they're a different beast.
Her eyes out, she's staring at her phone, texting away furiously. Another being kicked out by the bouncers as she vomits over herself.
Put your fucking hands up me again!
It's quite a sight to see, an image that I'm sure the suffragettes never imagined would happen. Progress.
Yo, I love this. Oh, that's funny. The suffragettes.
And so what I'm hoping that you understand is that the pub is really a place for everyone.
You with all your mates, and you're all having a laugh, and you're all doing everything. It seems to be like the catalyst to make a good time.
However, over the years, things have changed a lot.
Now, I'm worried about the closure of pubs.
More than 150 pubs have closed their doors for good in England and Wales.
They face a cost of living crisis head on.
Now look, it's never been easy for pubs when it comes to laws. It's been like this tug of war between the government and pubs for a very long time. And that is for the simple fact that alcohol is a bit troublesome.
Hey!
In 1552, the Ale House Act was passed, where pubs would be required a license from a local authority in order to be able to sell beer. In 1830, the Beer House Act came along. New laws would pop up, like a legal drinking age. Also, opening hours were pretty tight. But by 1960s, the laws were relaxed somewhat. So from here to about the 2000s, things were flourishing. Having a simple bevy with the boys had evolved. Now you could walk into a pub and there might be things like pool tables, dartboards.
And it's a 5-point round.
You go into any good pub and there will be locals who are insane at pool and darts. They'll come in with their own cases, their own sticks, their own table if they could. And if they get good enough, they can enter professional leagues. They can become professional athletes. I mean, take Phil Taylor, for instance, a professional darts player. Look at him, he is your typical pub goer. But look, if darts and pool isn't what you're into, there's something for everyone. You might be more into board games. So you go, you grab a board game in this box that looked like it's
or you get the trivia nights and stuff like that.
The town of Leicester is the birthplace of which mass murderer?
But really it would be in 2007 where things would take a massive turn. Where pub culture as we knew it would be gone forever.
A countrywide smoking ban went into effect in the UK on Sunday.
The smoking ban. When smoking ciggies were banned from pubs,
I've never understood that, because they've done that to a lot of places here. You can't smoke within the bar and stuff like that. Number one, you have a drink, you want to have a smoke, right? That's just, it seems like it goes hand in hand. That's the reason why I think a lot of drinkers back in the day, they probably picked up smoking first, or they might have picked up drinking first. So smoking just kind of comes, it's one of those things. And I think the one place that should have been not messed with for smoking bans and stuff like that is bars, pubs, places of that nature, clubs, where people are getting intoxicated. It makes absolutely no sense. Because the people that are there that are smoking understand what's going to be there, and they're probably doing it themselves. You're not, unless the general public walks in and fuck the Karen, you know what I'm saying? Piss on her. Or the, kin or whatever, piss on them because they're in a place they shouldn't be, because people do stuff that they disagree with. It's just how that should have worked.
This was a major issue in Britain.
Make a place for the smokers and a place for the non-smokers that's segregated off. Not herders out here like bloody prostitutes standing on this corner, which is what you feel like when you're standing here with a cigarette.
I'm not joking, this was as big of a deal as Brexit, Trump, trans athletes. And this is where the government had proposed that we were no longer allowed to smoke cigarettes inside of a pub. And there was uproar from landlords to pub goers, where the classic atmosphere of a pub, where you'd open the door and a plume full of smoke would come out like a dragon's lair, would now be replaced with breathable air. And we couldn't have that. And it's true, it was part of the atmosphere, but ultimately the ban passed and you had to go outside and smoke cigarettes. From this point on, traditional pub culture only really got worse and worse. With the rise of social media and home media, people didn't really need to leave the house to get entertainment. On top of this, the younger generation were, God forbid, drinking less. And there's been a constant decline in pubs throughout England since 2000.
Yes. I'll say this. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to once I get to England. That's one of the things I want to take and do meet and greets, a couple of meet and greets when I make it over, and they're all going to be at pubs. I want every one of them to be at a pub because it seems like that would be natural. So.
Boys, how you doing? Are you alright?
Yeah. On top of this, alcohol is easier and cheaper to get a hold of from supermarkets. We, as society, have a greater variety of things to do. You don't just have to sit in a pub. You could go get a coffee. You could go for a meal. And so as pubs become less popular and the cost of living goes up, there has been a major decline in pub culture across Britain. But look, it's not all bad news. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light is Wetherspoons.
Today I want to talk about one of the great British institutions, Wetherspoons.
Now, Wetherspoons isn't a traditional pub. It's kind of this pub-bar hybrid. It's like a super chain that exists all across Britain, where it takes our favourite elements of traditional pubs, the way they look, the way they feel, combine that with incredibly cheap beer and food, and it attracts a more wider demographic of young people and older people. And I think at this point it's pretty safe to say that Wetherspoons, or Spoons as we abbreviate it to, has kind of become a British institution in and of itself. It's the start of every good night out. It's the place we love to hate, but inside we all have a soft spot for it. It's still got all of the fights, all of the political debates. The owner, Tim Martin, literally did a Brexit tour around spoons. And it's even got love. Personally, I think as a society, tradition is really important. It's what makes culture so unique and fascinating. It makes people want to come and experience them. So next time you're at your local boozer, grab yourself a pint, take a sip and look around for a second. And appreciate everything that's gone in to the Great British Pub. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and watch this video right here.
It's a damn good barley wine. Holy crap. It was aged in Madeira barrels. And it lent this bright apple and like a juicy plum flavors to it. Take and go along with the malty backbone. And a little bit of, I want to say it's almost like, it's not so much a bitterness, but it's like a earthy almost type flavor, or a hay type flavor almost there at the back end as you swallow down. The balance within this was phenomenal. So it was nice to take and enjoy this while watching this and having the pub culture explained. That's one of the things that I think anybody that goes to the UK as a whole, that's one of the things I think you should look forward to is the pub culture, is taking and seeing, going to a pub. But, you know, American tourist and, oh, this is authentic. And I'll never understand how you can go to different countries. Oh, yeah, this is like authentic. Well, no shit, you're there, dumbass. But it's very interesting. I enjoyed the breakdown, not only of the different types of people that go within the pubs, but also the brief history of pubs themselves and the challenges that are facing pubs going forward. And I think it's kind of like bars here with smoking bans and things like that, how there was a downturn in things. And now you've got the at-home entertainment where you don't have to take and go out to, it used to be nothing. One of my routines back before I got married the first time, well, no, between my first and second marriage, was to actually, after work on Fridays, I would take and go home, get cleaned up, go to a restaurant, have something to eat, and I'd take and go to, sometimes I go to the movie theater, and I'd see a movie, and then I'd go to there's a bar that I went to pretty much every Friday night and every Saturday night. They had karaoke from like 8:30, 9 o'clock till closing time. I'd leave just before closing time. There's another bar that was open 24/7 on the week, 24 hours on the weekends. And I'd go play. I'd go over there and I'd play pool, and I'd sit and shoot the crap with different patrons that were in there until about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Then I'd take and drive home. That's not anything I'd recommend for most folks, and it's probably one of the reasons why I had problems with fatty liver there for a little bit. But, you know, years of doing stuff like that. But it's something that very much took a downturn here as well with how things have gone here, as well as far as entertainment, how easy it is to take and get entertainment. You ain't got to really go out. Hell, now, I'll be honest with you, started doing YouTube just probably a little over 5 years ago at this point, doing beer reviews. And one of the great things is these panel live streams where we'd all join up, all of us beer reviewers and stuff like that, or people that maybe not out in the beer review community, but, you know, viewers and stuff like that, we all got friendly with and stuff. And we'd be 10 or 12 of us for a live stream. And sometimes you take and get on-air beer reviews, but we'd all sit in it was a virtual bar basically. And I've still got friends that I have from that community that I hold dear, that I take and visit as regularly as possible through YouTube, and we'll take and join up on panels and stuff like that and have a couple beers. And it's basically a virtual bar. You don't have to go out and have a couple beers and spend money for an Uber or risk driving home after you've had a couple. And you've got the rise of stuff like that. So, you know, the challenges he presented going forward for there, we have also got here, and it's just really interesting. But it's one of the things I do look forward to once I get over there, is visiting a pub. So I hope y'all enjoyed this. Y'all be good to each other. Love yourselves. Peace.